The New York Jets just changed everything in a couple of moves that have people scratching their heads over the time that they are made, but I followed the breadcrumbs and I believe I know exactly why the New York Jets decided to make these moves on this Friday night, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Football 365. If you are a New York Jet fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. Please help me get to my goal of 1,000 subscribers. But the New York Jets have been active tonight, which means we got to be active tonight. Guys, let's jump right into the news for today. Coming from Brian Costello, Aaron Glenn is making a number of changes to his coaching staff after his disappointing first season as the Jets head coach. A source confirmed that Aaron Glenn fired quarterbacks coach Charles London, pass game coordinator Scott Turner, linebackers coach Aaron Curry, defensive line coach Eric Washington, and defensive assistants Alonzo Escalante and Roosevelt Williams. So, Aaron Glenn, it's about time you took over control of what's been going on. It is obvious that in 2025, the New York Jets coaching staff was nowhere close to up to snuff. Now, a lot of people are pointing that out as Aaron Glenn isn't a good enough head coach. And if you want to point that out, then fine, I won't stop you. But the fact of the matter is, we're not moving on from Aaron Glenn. It doesn't matter what head coach candidate enters the pool. Doesn't matter. Bill Belichick's out there, by the way. Doesn't matter. We're not changing our head coach. Aaron Glenn needs to now put together the best possible coaching staff around him. So, fired a bunch of guys on the offensive side of the ball. I don't have the tweet, but we are hearing that Tanner Engstrand will remain as the offensive coordinator, but his responsibilities will be slightly changing. Now, what will those slight changes be to his responsibilities? We don't know yet. Just know there are slight changes coming to Tanner Engstrand's responsibilities. I'll probably be making a video on that tomorrow morning once we get more information on this. So if you want to get that information, hit that subscribe button. But a lot of these changes were on the defensive side of the football, where the New York Jets need a defensive coordinator. And a lot of people are asking, why would they make these moves now? But another insider has explained why the Jets would decide now is the right time. From Heavy Sports, Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic revealed on Jets' final drive that the hesitancy from the Jets to fire any assistant defensive coaches was because of their defensive coordinator vacancy. The new defensive coordinator was expected to have a say in which assistants were fired and which would be retained, if any would be retained. With the team moving forwards with several firings, that could indicate that a defensive coordinator hire is coming in the not-so-distant future. The Jets conducted 8 virtual Zoom interviews with the first round of candidates. This week, they cut that group of 8 down to a smaller number. Those selected individuals would be set to interview in person at the team facilities for the vacant defensive coordinator role. So, we are now hearing what the plan is to figure out who the defensive coordinator is. It is interview 8 people over Zoom, cut down that list to a smaller number, interview that smaller number of candidates in person, and then that one person who gets picked will then be able to choose which coaches get fired from the coaching staff. But remember, that was the plan. That doesn't mean that that's exactly what they're going to be doing. Remember, a lot of these coaches that are picking up head coaching gigs, they planned to visit the Tennessee Titans after whatever team they ended up on. That's what happened to Kevin Stefanski, was taking an interview with the Falcons and then taking an interview with the Titans. But hey, he never left the Falcons building. Didn't go according to plan. Same thing happened with John Harbaugh joining the New York Giants. His plan was go to the Giants, then fly down to Tennessee for 2 interviews with each team. Never left the Giants facilities, never got that Tennessee Titans interview. So, taking a look at that, it doesn't mean that everything the Jets do are going to be according to plan. And they may already know who they are hiring at defensive coordinator. And that person may be already hand-picking which coaches he wants to be retained and which coaches he wants fired. It makes sense, which is why they're firing those defensive coaches tonight. Now, the name I'm going to put up on the screen is the name that we know from fan voting on Twitter, that Jim Leonhard is the name that Jets fans want. I can understand why they want Jim Leonhard or to be the defensive coordinator for us, because he was an ex-New York Jet, and that's more fun. We love to think about the glory days of when we made back-to-back AFC Championship games with Rex Ryan. And that's why that's why a lot of people want Rex Ryan to come back and Jim Leonhard to come back, or Jim Leonhard being a safety on one of those teams for us. But I just want to caution us, like, just because we have good memories of these players and these coaches, that doesn't mean that if they join us again, those good memories will continue. Just bringing in Jim Leonhard or just bringing in Rex Ryan doesn't mean that we are going to be able to rehash the success that those players and coaches were able to have the last time they were associated with the New York Jets. I feel like a lot of people are looking through the Rex Ryan goggles and the Jim Leonhard as DC goggles with rose-colored lenses. I really think we're overrating those guys a little bit. Whoever the defensive coordinator is, they are going to have their work cut out for them. Currently, according to ESPN, Braden McGregor is one of our starting defensive ends. That's not going to be good enough. Now, you would, of course, once Will McDonald, the fourth, is healthy, he's going to slide right back into that role. So, Braden McGregor, not actually a starter, but the defensive personnel groupings, not looking so good. Now, we have a lot of draft picks to solve that. We got 2 first-round picks this year. We got 2 second-round picks. No third-round pick, I believe. I believe that's the one that we traded away to the Detroit. No, that's the one we traded for Hassan Reddick, is the third-round pick that we don't have this season. So whoever our defensive coordinator is, he will have to come in, scheme something up, and make a lot out of a little bit. Aaron Glenn, before coming to the New York Jets, was the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. For whatever reason, he has decided that he is going to not even touch defensive play calling with a 10-foot pole, and our play calling under Stephen Wilkes absolutely fell flat. He should have taken over. He didn't. He wants to be a CEO type of head coach, and I get it. That's probably the way that your head coach should be, because when you are calling plays, that takes away from your focus from doing the head coaching things, that the challenges, just overall team management decisions, you're going to get worse at, because you're focused. You only have so much of it. Once it gets split with play calling responsibilities, you're going to get worse at the other head coaching stuff. That's an objective truth. That's what's going to happen to you. So it makes sense why Aaron Glenn does not want to call defensive plays. But when the defense looks as bad as it did last season, at some point he needs to take over and start calling the plays. But enough about Aaron Glenn. This is about our defensive coordinator hire. The guy that I love for the position would be Wink Martindale from right now the DC of Michigan. I'm actually not sure if he's still under contract with them. His contract may be up, but he is being linked to pretty much every single defensive coordinator opening in the NFL. Was pretty successful with the New York Giants a couple of years ago with Brian Daboll as the head coach. Wink Martindale was the DC. The defense overperformed what they had relative to their skill level, or I should say perceived skill level, but due to Wink Martindale's disagreements with Brian Daboll, they were not able to get along for a long period of time. That's why Wink Martindale departed from the New York Giants, dropped back down to college. So a lot of people are arguing, college scheming is so different, he wouldn't be ready for the NFL, but I would push back on that argument and say the college football game is getting closer and closer to the NFL each and every single year. If you're, paying attention with all the NIL stuff, it's pretty much turning into a minor league when it comes to player and roster management. But what matters for Wink Martindale is schematically, college football gets closer and closer to the NFL every single season. And that's not just college football schemes getting more intricate. Also, the NFL is changing their rules, and what people are bringing college schemes to the NFL, and they're working, just like the RPO game. They're bringing it to the NFL. It's working, and it is starting to blur the lines between college and the NFL. So if you are someone who doesn't want Wink Martindale, don't tell me that your reasoning is because he's a college defensive coordinator, not a professional football defensive coordinator. That's not a good enough reason. That's an outdated reason. But the New York Jets staying awake, staying aggressive. They're making moves here at almost 10 o'clock on a Friday night. Very fitting for the city that never sleeps. That's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch it all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Go Jets.